Hey, happy Wednesday, hump day to everybody. A little gloomy here in southeastern Massachusetts. Want to get right to the point. Uh, Spent the weekend at Encore in Boston. Beautiful, beautiful casino, nice rooms, good food. I think they keep the place really well maintained, good security, staff, very pleasant. But the bigger picture is gambling. And this isn't to call out Encore in any way, but because I was there this weekend and last weekend, I just want to give a little dialogue on uh, essentially the mechanics of, are you a problem gambler? Do you think a family or friend may have problems with gambling, whether it be scratch tickets, betting on games, uh, playing the slot machines, table games. It's so interesting to walk into a casino where time doesn't exist. There are no windows, there are no clocks, there is no way to tell if it's day or night, summer or winter. You are in a vacuum and you are in a very strategically and psychologically developed construct that is meant to keep you there as long as possible. Because if you're winning money, they don't want you to go until you've lost it and then some. And if you're losing money, they want you to stay and lose more. Because you don't build $1 billion buildings on nickels and dimes like they did way back in the old days when Las Vegas first, started with Bugsy Moran and some of the Jewish members of the Italian mafia, which is a whole nother story. But instead of digressing, I'll stay focused on. I would get on the elevator and I would look at these people, and it looked like just sheer dread. Like, unless these people were drunk or at a party, in the hotel and really like kind of away from the gambling aspect of it, they look like they just lost everything. The kids' college fund, their houses, their cars, every penny that they had in their, banks. I mean, it was really sad to see. And when you look at the tables, I've been gambling. I started when I was like 18 in Atlantic City when they first reopened. And I remember, Donald Trump, he had his casino. They had the Playboy Casino there for a while. It was really, really interesting. And AC, when you got there was a little toll, and you had to pay I don't know, it was like $1 or something to get through, and then $1 to leave. And there were literally people that didn't have the money to get through to leave, and they would have to, I don't know, sign a form or leave their driver's license or do something in order to get through the toll. And like, that's amazing. And so, Atlantic City isn't one of the nicest neighborhoods in the world. You've got the casino area, but then once you walk on the boardwalk and you get to a certain point, that's where kind of the hood begins, and all the gangsters are. And if they see you and you're not able to handle yourself, and you've got jewelry on or money in your pocket, they're gonna roll you like a bowling ball. So with that being said, little side story: I worked for a guy who was a general sales manager at a car dealership like 100 years ago, and he got rolled. They took his Rolex, knocked out a few teeth, took his money, scared them to death. And, they decided that they would never cross this line again. And I think Bally's was there, Trump was there, like I said, Playboy was there. They had 10, 12 minimum, like big high-end casinos. And, me and my best friend that I've known forever, we're still friends. We would pretend like, and once in a while we would do it. We would put like $100, which to us was all the money in the world. And we would put that, in a little circle to see if we would win. And, if we would win, it would make our day. And if we would lose, obviously we would be crushed. But now, fast forward to today, 2025, and you've got people literally losing everything. What is the psychological component to that? Well, people are bored. People want excitement. People think that these games are not rigged. I can promise you that, for example, if you play blackjack and you sit at a table, you notice those little towers that they put the cards in, and one tower will come up. They'll put the cards in, and the other tower will come up. They'll take the cards out, and you'll cut the cards, and they'll burn a card, and then they'll use the rest of those cards. I know Mickey Mass talks a lot about this on his channel, but, he's a winner, allegedly, and, he's never faced, losing. I won $1.2 million in 6 weeks at Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun combined. And I was kicked out of both casinos. Why? Because I won. And they knocked on my hotel room door and they just asked me to leave. No reason given. Just, you have to leave the property. And there must have been 6 or 8 security guards. But I won $1.2 million in 6 weeks, and that can be verified. 6 weeks. I carried it in a backpack, and I would show it every time I would cash out to the eye in the sky so that they could see it. And there were 2 days in particular I lost $250,000, and it took me over 12 hours to win it back and win another, I don't know, maybe close to 50 G's. And that was a hand shuffle, and I think that things were really honest. That was in 2021, so we're around the COVID period, and I think that they were just so desperate to get customers in that they were honest for a change. Now, fast forward to today, they've got mechanisms in place that can tell card counters, that can tell basic strategy players, that can tell anybody that has any rudimentary knowledge of, how to play blackjack, because that's kind of my game. If you play Baccarat, that's a 50-50 game. I mean, you might as well flip a coin because, you got a better shot, just like if you play roulette, but roulette isn't 50-50. People think, okay, I could go with black or I could go with red, but you still have, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 of those green spots that you have to worry about. And believe me, that factors in to the algorithm and to the math of the equation when it comes to payout. So from what I understand, blackjack, you have a 0.5% chance, yes, 0.5% house edge. So that gives you a little bit of a chance to be successful. But with all the double downs, the splits, the blackjacks, it is amazing how these dealers pull out 6, 7 card 21s where, they're sitting at 16, and then here comes that 5, and there's no face cards to be found. And you're looking at, a crap hand of, a 3 and a 6. So you got an 8. So you take a hit, you're hoping for a face card or a small card that gets you to 10 or 11. And usually that's not going to happen because, again, basic strategy card counters, they're looking at that. And because of those, you could tell exactly what card, if one is missing from one of those towers that go up and down, they could tell you what card If it's the ace of spades, the jack of hearts, they could tell you what card is missing, whether it's 4 decks, 6 decks, or 8 decks. It tells you right on the reader on the other side that the pit bosses are always looking at. And you can tell the pit bosses when they're walking around, they're looking at the tables, who's betting big money, who's changing their bets from big bets to small bets. That's a dead giveaway that your counting cards are doing something that they're going to keep an eye on. And for the people that, are lucky enough to win and cash out with a few bucks, guaranteed they're going to go back and they're going to give it back eventually. And those are the people that you see in the elevator or walking around like zombies, in the hallways, going to the convenience store, walking on the floor of the casino, or just sitting at one of the bars or getting drunk. It is an addiction. And that addiction is just like any other addiction: alcohol, drugs, overspending money, pornography, sex, whatever the case may be. You are looking for that dopamine rush. The serotonin, norepinephrine, the dopamine in your brain is looking to get lit up by the excitement of the game, the excitement of winning. And when you lose, depending upon what your financial circumstances are, I think it's really important to set a stop loss on saying, this is where I'm willing to go and no further. And if you double your money, Dana White, who is known, not only as the UFC owner, but a prolific gambler in Las Vegas and around the world, he'll be the first to tell you, if you double your money, you are a fool if you do not get up and leave. Go. Come in with 200, leave with 4. That's a pretty good day. Come in with $5,000, leave with 10. That's a really good day. If you're looking to break the bank in one sitting, I can promise you it's not going to happen. I've had some days where I've come in with 10 grand and I've turned it to 60, 70 grand. I've come in with more. I've won more. I've come in with less and I've lost. And I've scratched my head. Why am I losing? I'm doing everything right. There is no reason why I should be losing, but yet, where are the face cards? Where are the cards that should be coming out that aren't coming out? So I guess the reason that I'm just trying to give this video out is quite simply, it really caused me to pause when I left the casino on Sunday afternoon, and I realized that, there are people that are really deep in this, and they need to look in the mirror and decide, is that worth their relationships, their jobs, their financial security? And if you need help, there's no shame, like there's none. Everybody has issues. Everybody has problems. And seeing a therapist, seeing someone that you trust is the most important thing that you can do to get on the right path. People that are addicted to heroin, nobody wants to go through withdrawal symptoms of heroin. So what do? I know they call methadone liquid handcuffs, but there are other options as well. There's Suboxone, there's Subutex, there's now they have the shot where you can get that, and it comes in 300 milligrams and it goes down to 1. And now there's a new drug. I'll get the name next time I do a video, I hope. And this is supposed to reduce the effects of withdrawal by 94%. That's a lot. So if you're addicted to an opiate, that's something you want to look at. If you're addicted to a benzodiazepine because you have anxiety or you just like the feeling of benzos, you need to be medically detoxed. If you're an alcoholic and addicted to alcohol, if your consumption is so high, you may need to be medically detoxed. Heroin, you don't need to be medically detoxed. You may want to chew through a steel gate, but there is no medical necessity for medical detox. Crack, cocaine, same thing. You may want to, bite through, barbed wire fence, but there really isn't any physiological need for a medical detox. But it all is in here. And so if you can admit to yourself, ask for help, and get your life back on track, I can promise you that you won't be one of those living dead people that walk to casinos that have given them everything they have. And what do you get in return? A few points on your player's card, maybe if you're lucky, a meal, maybe if you're super lucky, a room. But in the end, the casino always wins. They will find a way to win, which is why they are so beautiful, so elegantly, pointed, and that's where they get the money from. So I know this is all old news, but the most important takeaway is really think, do I fit some of these profiles? And am I someone that might benefit from the help of talking with someone? Because the outcome of the worst case scenario is definitely not the outcome of the best case scenario, which is admitting, getting help, and getting your life squared away. So I hope for those of you that are on the fence, maybe this kind of, might prompt you to take a chance. You can always say no afterwards if it's not for you, but going into a casino and thinking that you're going to beat the house, I promise you that, take it from a guy who's won over $1 million in a very short period of time and has also had really big wins that eventually, I have seen with my own eyes what casinos do to people, and it's not pretty. So hope to hear any comments, any stories, any thing that you'd like to add, or anything that you would like to ask in terms of what can help. And I'll be here and be more than happy to do what I can to steer you in the right direction. So have a great rest of the day, and talk to you later.